Hey there guys, this is Richard, your host. Attack on Titan has too many characters who are indispensable to its plot. Without them, major portions of the story fall apart, which is a great testament to the genius of mangaka Hajime Isayama, since this is not an easy feat to achieve within a shorter new generation manga. However, things can be a bit confusing here, so we're bringing a mega list of 45 characters who have greatly contributed to the narrative aspects of the story. Before we get to the heart of the topic, please like and subscribe to our channel to stay up to date with our videos. Erin Jger. Kicking off the list with the protagonist of the show, Erin Jger is a boy who sought freedom but could never see it himself. Short-tempered, hot-headed, and violent, Erin desperately desired to venture out of the walls instead of living like cattle in a world satisfied by false peace. Following the tragic death of his mother in the aftermath of the Titans raiding the Shiganshina district, Erin sought vengeance against the Titans, promising to wipe off every last one of them from the face of the earth. He joined the Survey Corps to be part of the fight against the mysterious enemies, only to find out that he himself could turn into a Titan, namely the Attack Titan. His powers and abilities were used by the Survey Corps in their quest to reclaim Wall Maria and reach Erin's basement, where his father had left the information about the truth of the Titans. Erin followed through with every plan willingly, clutching onto his desire to find freedom and protect his friends Mikasa and Arman, but the basement revelation left him disappointed. The knowledge of the outside world being full of enemies who hated his kind of Eldians, and the fact that he began to access information across time and space via the paths, due to him possessing the Attack Titan and the Founding Titan, began to mess with his head. For this reason, he seemed nonchalant when he witnessed the sea for the first time or tried ice cream, as he'd already experienced everything as a result of his father's memories. After a trip to Mali alongside the members of the Survey Corps, Erin was distraught as he heard people talk about annihilating Paradise by seizing the Founding Titan and stopping the rumbling. So, he infiltrated the Malian army as a regular Eldian soldier and mapped out his plan of attack, coming through on the day Willie Tyber declared war on Paradise because the Founding Titan had fallen out of the hands of the Fritz or Reice family and was possessed by the usurper Erin Jger. By this time, Erin was cold, seemingly ruthless, and a shell of his former self. One by one, he began to distance his loved ones away from him and wished to initiate the rumbling by coming into contact with his half-brother, Zeke Jger, who held the Beast Titan and was of royal blood. This allowed him to access the Paths realm, which led to a trip down memory lane. With this, it was revealed that not only could the Attack Titan send future memories to the past wielders, but Erin from the future had been using this ability to shape the actions of every Attack Titan that came before him, as well as his younger self. He had forced his father to kill the Reice family and get the Founding Titan. He'd sent Dina Fritz's Smiling Titan to kill his mother. He'd sent Erin Kruger the information that led to him choosing Grisha to inherit the Attack Titan. Because the coordinate allowed him to see through time and space, allowing him to peer into alternate realities, Erin realized that the only world where his friends could survive and be free would be the one where Erin caused the rumbling. He'd need the Survey Corps to form an alliance with the Eldians in the Malian army, such as Rina and Hani, for his sole purpose of killing Erin. Erin's death in his final form would also require the source of all living matter, which had given Ymir Fritz the power of the Titans, to be killed, thus absolving the subjects of Ymir from their cruel fates of having their bodies be susceptible to being morphed by Titan powers and dying 13 years after acquiring Titan shifters. In the end, he orchestrated the final battle with the powers of the Founder, as he annihilated 80% of the world's population via the rumbling, while allowing his loved ones to operate freely despite having the power to stop them, which allowed them to understand that Erin wanted them to fight back. In the end, the source of all living matter was destroyed and he was killed by Mikasa Aiman, as her Akiman blood allowed her to retain the memories of the alternate universe where Erin lived out the rest of his years with her in a cabin and died early due to the curse of the Titans, while Paradise got doomed due to the two of them running away. This allowed her to realize that Erin wanted her to kill him in this very reality where he caused the rumbling so that their people could be free from being the subjects of Ymir, while Ymir herself could pass on instead of being stuck in time in the paths. Mikasa Aiman. Born to an Akiman father and an Asian mother, Mikasa grew up in the mountains by the outer walls of the Shiganshina district, oblivious to the cruelties of the world that led to her parents relocating so far from the main towns. After her parents were killed by traffickers, Mikasa was abducted to be sold into the black market due to her rare mixed lineage. She was saved by Erin at first, but when he himself was in danger, she awakened her latent powers as an Akiman, growing strong with the knowledge of knowing exactly what to do next. Throughout her life, Mikasa experienced strange headaches that were often accompanied by visions of her life. Following this, she was adopted by the Jger family as she was orphaned and grew close to Erin and Arman. She joined the military and then the Survey Corps after Shiganshina was overrun by Titans and, from the very beginning, showed exceptional skills as a soldier. Throughout everything, she was always determined to protect Erin and be by his side, because he was the only family she had left and because she was also in love with him. Sometime in Season 3, during a dialogue with Levi and Hanji following Kenny Ackerman's movements with the Interior Police, she learned of her Ackerman blood being special and her people being immune to the memory alteration tactics of the founding Titan, which led to the Ackerman clan's persecution within the walls, as the king didn't intend for the people of Paradise to remember the truth about their race and the history that came with it. After Erin's deflection and individual movements and the rise of the Jaegerist faction within the walls, Mikasa began to grow distant from Erin against her will. She also began to disagree with his actions, but supported him nonetheless, that is until he initiated the rumbling after gaining access to the powers of the founding Titan. She fought against the mass genocide with the alliance formed between the Survey Corps and the Eldians in the Malian army to stop Erin. The realization that Erin had allowed them to act on their free will instead of controlling them despite having the power to do so worked in her favor, as it helped her understand that Erin wanted to be stopped. As the battle of heaven and earth reached its climax, an already emotionally distraught Mikasa began to experience headaches worse than ever before. The thought that Erin had to be killed and the fact that she couldn't protect him anymore made matters worse, leading her to take things into her own hands as she had to be the one killing him. It was revealed that the headaches were caused by founder Ymir peering into her mind and Erin wiping her memories over and over because she was prone to gaining them back as an Ackerman. In those memories, Mikasa saw the world where she confessed her feelings to Erin when he'd asked her about it, which led to the both of them deserting everything to stay together in the cabin for the few years Erin had remained as a Titan shifter. Not only did this decision lead to Erin's early death, but it also caused the downfall of Paradise and her home, which was attacked and destroyed by Mali, just like in every other alternate universe. Understanding that Erin had to cause the rumbling to free the Eldians from their Titan lineage, and that Erin had to be killed for them to be free, Mikasa sliced his nape after breaking into the mouth of the founding Titan and kissed his decapitated head. In the end, she honored Erin's wish for her to move on with her life and buried him under the tree where he used to love sleeping. Arman Arlot. He was a boy with the biggest dreams in the show, the one who sought after freedom not fueled by pain or vengeance, but with the hopes of seeing the ocean and, by extension, the outside world. His parents were killed within the walls when they tried to escape over the walls in a hot air balloon, which led to him growing up with his grandfather. However, he found his solace in the books about the outside world his parents had left. Armin also used to get bullied as a kid and was always protected by Erin and Mikasa. He confided about the contents of the books in the outside world having the seas to them, sparking the desire for freedom within the trio. After Shiganshina fell, he joined the Survey Corps with his two friends, but was never the most capable combatant. What he lacked in strength, he made up for with his wits, coming up with monumental plans such as Erin using the boulder to plug Wall Maria, finding Annie's identity and ambushing her, helping with the reveal of Rina and Bertal being the Colossal Titan, taking down the Colossal Titan, and the list goes on. By the end of Season 3, he was saved by the spinal fluid Kenny had left with Levi after he was almost burnt to death by Bertal, which led to Armin acquiring the powers of the Colossal Titan. A year after the battle to reclaim Wall Maria, Armin was able to witness the never-ending sea for the first time. Like Mikasa, he was alienated by Erin, who was trying to distance his loved ones from him before he became the devil who destroyed the world. After the rumbling began, Armin fought alongside the Alliance to take down Erin. In a final showdown between Armin in his Titan form and Erin as a Colossal Titan, Armin was able to hold off Erin long enough, allowing Mikasa to swiftly decapitate him. Before the power of the Titans disappeared, Erin and Armin had a conversation in the Path's realm about Erin's true intentions, which led to Armin learning that the rumbling was the only option and that Erin didn't want to die, instead wanting to stay with his friends and Mikasa, but he had no other choice. 3 years following the historic battle, Armin became a prominent diplomat, advocating for peaceful relations between the remaining Eldians and the part of the world that survived. Rina Brown. Rina was an Eldian born in Marley's Liberio internment zone. His family had been abandoned by his father since he was a Malian, so Rina was always desperate for his family to reunite. This led to him becoming part of the Warrior program, success in which would ensure that him and his mother would acquire the status to become honorary Marlians. Rina grew up hearing tales about the horrors committed by his ancestors after Yar Fritz made a deal with the devil to acquire the power of the Titans. He also lacked self-confidence and aptitude, which made him lag behind his peers in the Warrior program. Fortunately for him, he was able to become the wielder of the Armored Titan before the Paradise Island operation, which gave him a much-needed ego boost. While on the way to Paradise with Annie, Bertolt, and Marcel Galliard, it was revealed that Rina only became a warrior because Marcel advocated against his brother Porco gaining the Armored Titan and instead pushed the authorities to give it to Rina because he didn't want Porco to fall victim to the 13-year curse. This messed up Rina's head once again, which got worse when Marcel had to save him from a pure Titan nearby because Marcel was eaten, taking away not only a warrior, but also the Jaw Titan. Rina then forced Annie and Bertolt to continue with the operation and to prove himself, broke through the inner gate of Wall Maria and infiltrated the military as a candidate in the Survey Corps. He grew close to the cadets such as Erin, Connie, and Jinn during their training and played the role of being a big brother figure, much like Marcel had been to the Eldian warriors in Mali. With time, however, his guilt began to catch up to him as the so-called devils in Paradise were nothing like the horrible people he was told they were, and instead, not only were normal people, but they were also the greatest friends he ever had. This led to Rina developing a split personality, where he often acted as a soldier who wore the same shoes as everyone on the island, and at other times, switched to his warrior persona when the original mission had to be advanced. He revealed the truth of this and Bertolt's identities in Season 2, captured Erin and Freckles Ymir as they had Titan shifters, and tried to take them to Mali as they suspected that Erin had the coordinate and knew that Ymir had eaten Marcel, acquiring the Jaw Titan. Before their escape, however, they were foiled by Erin, who gained the temporary ability to control Titans after coming into contact with Yar Fritz. Rina returned during the battle at Shiganshina but was defeated and taken back to Mali, where he grew to become depressed and suicidal as a result of his PTSD from guilt and war. After Erin's defection from the Survey Corps, however, Rina joined hands with his past allies in the Corps, trying to ease their relationships because no side had any choice but to do what they did. In the end, he performed in the final battle to end the rumbling and later became a diplomat alongside Arman and the others. Bertal Hoover. Like Rina, Bertolt was an Eldian born in Mali who had enrolled into the warrior program with the hope of becoming a Titan shifter for the Malian army and an honorary Malian. Despite having a weak-willed personality, Bertolt had his talents and wits and was one of the promising candidates of the program, which led to him inheriting the Colossal Titan. He was part of the Paradise Island operation and infiltrated the island. In fact, he's the first Titan we see, with his head peeking over the 50-meter Wall Maria since the Colossal Titan stood at the titanic height of 60 meters. While operating within the military of the Walls and later the Survey Corps, Bertolt maintained a cordial relationship with his comrades, but never went the extra mile for them like Rina did. He would also remind Rina of his position as a warrior often, as he could see how Rina's personality could not handle the guilt. In the battle to reclaim Shiganshina, he was killed by Arman and Erin, with Armin having figured out that unlike the Colossal Titan's musculature, its skeleton didn't evaporate with steam emission, allowing Armin to latch onto the Titan's teeth for as long as he could. After Arman acquired Bertolt's Titan, he began to understand Bertolt's mindset better, especially after he had to kill hundreds of people in Liberia because he had no choice in the war. Annie Leonhardt. One of the most promising candidates in the Marleyan army, as well as the one within the walls. Annie Leonhardt was originally born to a Marleyan woman. However, a blood test determined that she was a subject of Ymir, due to her mother probably having had an affair with an Eldian, following which she was deported to Liberia. She was adopted by Leonhardt, who trained her rough to become a warrior, so that he could become an honorary Marleyan. The rigorous training took a toll on Annie, however, which led to her beating her father up one day until he was crippled. In a twist of fate, he grew to be proud of her, as her act proved how she was strong enough, and he made her promise that she would come back home after the Paradise Island operation was over. During her training period, Annie was one of the most prominent candidates, but she was also a loner. She had a complicated relationship with Rina and beat him thoroughly following Marcel's death, after Rina began to force them to continue with the operation. In Paradise, she joined the military with the other cadets of the 104th Regiment. She even helped Erin with his training when it came to hand-to-hand combat. However, while the others joined the Survey Corps, Annie joined the military police. After Erin was revealed to be a Titan, she led an attack as the female Titan during their expedition, hoping to retrieve Erin and take him back to Mali. In the process, she wiped out several members of the Survey Corps, including Levi's entire squad, and boasted a versatile range of abilities such as summoning Titans and selective combat. Ultimately, Erin fought her in his Titan form in Stohes district, and her attempt to escape was foiled by Mikasa. As a last resort, and with respect to her promise to stay alive and return to Mali, which she'd made to her adoptive father, she crystallized herself and was held by the Survey Corps in her state of stasis. Her hardening came undone when Erin started the rumbling, following which she joined the alliance in stopping Erin. Fortunately, she was able to reunite with her father in the end. Levi Akiman. Considered to be humanity's strongest soldier, Levi was born in the underground city within Wall Sheena, as the Akiman clan had been relentlessly persecuted. He lost his mother at an early age and was poor. When he was found by Kenny, Levi was severely malnourished. He was oblivious to his position as an Akiman and about Kenny being his uncle. However, Kenny took him in and raised him with the skills necessary to survive in the crime-ridden underbelly of Wall Sheena. After Levi picked a fight and won, Kenny abandoned him. At some point, he awakened his Akiman abilities and worked alongside Isabel and Ferlin. Things changed when one of Wiwin Smith's political enemies offered the trio surface residency in exchange for acquiring incriminating evidence on the commander of the Survey Corps. In a chase sequence with the Corps, Levi and co. used their stolen 3D maneuvering gears, and with Isabel and Ferlin's capture, Levi and the others were blackmailed into joining the Survey Corps. He continued to work on finding the documents against Smith and to kill him, but matters went out of hand when a Titan attack caused the demises of Isabel and Ferlin, sending Levi into a blind rage. However, Wiwin offered him to live with no regrets and to stick with the Corps, even after knowing of Levi's intentions to kill him, which became a turning point in his life. Following this, Levi dedicated himself to slaughtering Titans but maintained his cold exterior, which was created as a result of always losing his loved ones while his strength allowed him to survive. He was a crucial fighter in the expeditions. In Season 3, Kenny's involvement in the plot and the Survey Corps trying to unearth the truth about the royal family led to Levi learning that he was an Akiman and that Kenny was his uncle. While Kenny was on the verge of death, he left a vial of Titan serum with Levi, which Wiwin planned to use in their battle to reclaim Wall Maria. In that battle, Levi promised Wiwin that he would kill the Beast Titan and was hell-bent on doing so, since Wiwin sacrificed himself for the cause. However, after soloing Zeke, the latter was saved by Peak's Cart Titan, and Levi ended up using the Titan serum to save Armin instead of Wiwin, as unlike Armin's, Wiwin's dreams had come to an end. He visited Marley at some point with the other members of the Corps. However, he never gave up on his desire to kill the Beast Titan due to his promise. In one particular situation, while holding Zeke hostage in the forest of giant trees, Levi fought and defeated him again and pinned him down with a thunder spear. However, a desperate Zeke caused the trigger to go off, which heavily injured Levi and weakened him in battle. Yet he fought valiantly in the final battle, even losing his leg in the process, and supported Mikasa in killing Eren. After the Titan curse came to an end, he saw a vision of his comrades in the Corps and gave them the salute as a tear trickled down his face. Jinn. A part of Levi's squad during the first season of Attack on Titan, Eld was Levi's second-in-command and senior to the likes of the other members in the squad. His name also seems to be a play on the Japanese phrase Eldia Jinn, which translates to a person of Eldian heritage, which he was, but back then, we were kept in the dark about the truth of the world. He was a capable soldier and fought the female Titan, where the Titan was blinded to allow the squad to tear off her arm muscles and then the nape. However, because Annie prioritized healing one eye over both to regenerate faster, she got the opportunity to catch Eld in her mouth and kill him. Oluo Bozado. Considered to be the best in Levi's Special Operations Squad, Oluo went an extra limb to behave like Levi, often styling his hair in a similar fashion and trying to speak like him. He'd even boast his achievements from time to time, but often ended up biting his own tongue in the process. He was part of the operation to protect Eren from the female Titan and engaged it in combat alongside Petra and Eld. In an attempt to take out the nape, his attacks were nulled by Annie's selective hardening, after which she killed him with a roundhouse kick. Petra Raoul. Another prominent and the only female member of Levi's squad, Petra was often seen making fun of Oluo for his habit of mimicking Levi and biting his tongue. During the female Titan arc, she asked Eren to believe in them instead of turning into a Titan to fight Annie. After Oluo and Eld's deaths, a terrified Petra was unable to react to the female Titan and had her head squashed into a nearby tree. Gunter Schultz. He's the only member from Levi's squad who didn't get an opportunity to fight the female Titan. While they were trying to escape after the captured Titan managed to evade the grasp of the Survey Corps' trap, Annie donned the cape of the Survey Corps and used her 3D maneuvering gear to kill Gunter with a sneak attack. Hanji Zoe. Hanji made the strangest first impression on the viewers and Eren alike, as she seemed to be the only one who was often excited to see Titans and seldom terrified. She was overly interested in capturing Titans to conduct her research and hypothesis on their origins, often advocating for expeditions to capture pure Titans alive for her purpose. She was responsible for figuring out how Titans required sunlight for their vitality. After learning about the Titan within the walls following Eren and Annie's devastating battle in Stohess district, Hanji continued to threaten Pastor Nick to do her bidding, as he seemed to know the truth of the Titans, but he didn't budge. She was also crucial in figuring out the identities of Rina and Bertolt, and later in finding out that Reice was the true royal family under Rod Reice during the Uprising arc. After Historia was crowned as the Queen, Hanji helped in the development of the Thunder Spears, using technology kept secret by the Interior Police. These spears became paramount in fighting the armored Titan, as it could break through Rina's hardened armor. Prior to Wiwin's passing, he appointed her as the future commander of the Survey Corps. She was present with Levi, Erin, and Mikasa when the four of them went to Grisha's basement, and in the time skip became a key player in building the diplomatic relationships between Paradise and enemies of Mali, such as Yelena and Onyan Kopon, as she was now the commander. Her personality had also been visibly hardened as a result of the upcoming war and Erin's questionable actions. She became one of the first people to create the alliance between the Survey Corps and the Eldians in Malian military, as they collectively wished to stop Erin, the Jaegerists, Zeke, and the Rumbling. In the end, she sacrificed herself fighting colossal titans to hold them off. During her final moments, we got to see a glimpse of her original personality as she claimed how fascinating titans were. Pastor Nick. He was a high-standing member of the religious faction of the Walls, who believed in the walls being gifts of God that were never meant to be defiled, despite Titan attacks. He knew the truth about the world due to his connection with the royal family, and was part of the community that kept the rest of the island oblivious to the truth of the outside world and the Eldians. When forced to cooperate with Hanji, Pastor Nick played along and allowed them to hold him hostage, but never gave away any information. However, he pointed them in the direction of Historia Reice, formerly known as Crystal Lens, which became the first stepping stone that led to the reveal of the true royal family and Historia's position as the true ruler of the Wall. As the royal government began to fear that Nick may have revealed certain secrets to the Survey Corps, he was killed by the interior police after being tortured. They tried to cover it up by stating that he was killed by burglars, but Hanji was able to put two and two together. Hannis, a family friend in the Jaegers and a unit captain in the garrison. Erin and Mikasa had been acquainted with Hannis since before the fall of Wall Maria. He used to drink around with his peers, which rubbed Erin the wrong way as they were not prepared for battle and satisfied with the sense of false peace. However, Hannis considered those moments to be the happiest. After the Jaeger household was nearly destroyed by the rubble that fell out of Wall Maria, he found Carla crushed under her roof with Erin and Mikasa trying to rescue her. To save the kids, Carla urged Hannis to run away with them, leaving her behind so that they could survive. At first, Hannis saw the smiling Titan and decided to fight it off to save all of them. However, on coming face to face with the Titan, he was frightened and ran with Erin and Mikasa. In Season 2, he was part of the operation to save Erin from the clutches of Rina and Bertal. After Erin was rescued, they faced the smiling Titan once again, which gave Hannis the opportunity to right his wrongs and avenge Carla. Despite fighting bravely this time, he was ultimately killed by the Titan while Erin and Mikasa could not do anything. Mikasa because her ribs were shattered, and Erin because he wasn't completely healed, which prevented him from transforming into a Titan. Hannis' death took a huge toll on Erin, who began to blame herself for still being weak, but due to Mikasa's words of encouragement and affection, he picked himself up and punched the smiling Titan in the hand, temporarily gaining access to the power to control Titans, as Dina was royalty. Pixis. He was the highest-ranking commander of the Southern Territories in the garrison and had full authority over the defenses of the military. He got acquainted with Erin Jger after the latter was revealed to be a Titan shifter and was suspected for threatening humanity. While the military was reluctant to accept Erin's pleas to side with them, Pixis spoke on his behalf to save him from being executed and gave him the green signal to block the hole in Wall Maria with the boulder. He had a cordial relationship with Wiwin Smith, as both of them could sacrifice their humanity to attain something bigger. Unlike Wiwin, who wished to confirm his and his father's theory about the existence of humans outside the walls, Pixis' primary goals lay in the progression of humanity. He also disliked the current corrupt government and sided with the Survey Corps during the Uprising arc, helping Wiwin bring the false king down following a coup d'etat so that Historia could take to the throne. Having always been fond of alcohol, Pixis relished in the Marleyan wine that was supplied and distributed across Paradise by Yelena, oblivious to it being laced with Zeke's spinal fluid. After Zeke activated his Titan scream from afar, Pixis, alongside many other military officials, turned into pure Titans and had to be killed by one of the cadets from the 104th Cadet Corps. Sasha Blouse, one of the few characters in Attack on Titan who added a sense of lightheartedness to the otherwise dark and gritty show. Sasha Blouse was born to be a family of hunters and grew up in the forest. She was never remarkable and had a huge affinity for food. However, her upbringing had resulted in her possessing heightened senses and great marksmanship. She joined the military after her father asked her to make something good of herself and eventually joined the Survey Corps after the Battle of Tross District. Sasha is iconic for her introduction scene where she was caught feasting on a potato during Keith Shardis' interrogation. She grew to become close friends with the others from the 104th Corps, especially Jinn and Connie. She also spoke slowly and used formal Japanese, which was recognized by Freckless Ymir as she could tell how Sasha was faking her accent. In reality, she had a country dialect and was embarrassed to speak like that. After the residents of Ragako village were turned into Titans, Sasha went to check on her village and found a girl sitting inside her house while her mother was getting eaten by a Titan. She saved that girl and following that event began to speak in her original accent, as the incident helped her accept herself the way she was. By the time the Survey Corps raided Liberio, Sasha had become a great sniper and swapped her bows and arrows for guns. She'd also developed a romantic bond with the Malayan chef, Niccolo, who introduced her to seafood. In Liberio, she killed Gabby's superiors in front of her eyes, which led to Gabby shooting Sasha in the stomach when she infiltrated the Zeppelin from Paradise. Sasha's death marked the end of everything bright and jolly within the story of Attack on Titan and evoked a strange reaction from Eren as he laughed. While the others were furious at his behavior, Eren laughed due to the horror, especially because according to his memories, he knew that Sasha was going to die and he was going to destroy the world. Jean Kirstein. Selfish and self-centered, Jean's journey from wanting to be in the military police enjoying life in Walshina to a great soldier in the Survey Corps who didn't hesitate to call the shots was iconic, to say the least. His arrogance and desire for a good, safe life often rubbed off Eren in the wrong way, as he hated anyone who didn't fight for freedom. Jean's crush on Mikasa and Mikasa's evident affections for Eren also fueled the fire of their rivalry. It was Marco's untimely and mysterious death in trust that changed Jean for the better. He didn't know that the death was caused by Hani, Rina, and Bertal, since Marco had overheard their conversations. Either way, due to Jean having been very close to Marco, the shock and trauma from his death led to him reluctantly joining the Survey Corps, despite having the option to be in the military police. Jean continued to be a key figure in the Corps and was great with his 3D maneuver gear. He could also take the role of a leader when and where required. However, he claimed to not possess the same genius as Armin, which was required when they needed a brilliant plan. Following the time skip, Jean was part of the Alliance and helped in stopping Eren. He was also able to converse with Rina and co. about Rina's actions and betrayal because he understood that both sides had no choice. However, he couldn't bring himself to forgive Rina for the sake of Marco. Connie Springer. A close friend to the main cast and a resident of Ragako village, Connie often called himself a genius as a joke. He joined the military to make his family and village proud of him and eventually became part of the Survey Corps. After the Titans appeared from the south of Wall Rose, Connie rushed to his village, which was positioned nearby, and found that it had been deserted. The houses had been broken from within. The horses were in their sheds, and there was no drop of blood. In his house lay a pure Titan with a deformed anatomy, which made it incapable of moving. Seeing Connie, the Titan welcomed him back home in broken speech. He was shocked to experience it and even believed that the Titan looked like his mother. This led to Connie believing that his mother had been turned into a Titan, and as a result, he worked alongside Hanji to figure out how it was the residents of the village who became the Titans that attacked them without Wall Rose being breached. As a result of this incident, curing his mother became Connie's primary goal, and he wanted to use the Titan serum to feed a Titan shifter to his mother. At some point after the time skip, he tried to sacrifice Falco to fix his mother, but Armin's intervention and his own beliefs prevented that. He fought as part of the Alliance in the final battle, taking down the Jaegerists and helping hold Eren off. Eventually, he was able to reunite with his mother after Eren was killed. Like Armin, Rina, and the rest of the members of the Alliance, he too became a diplomat after the war. Keith Shardis. The military instructor of the training corps and the commander of the Survey Corps before Wiwin Smith, Keith Shardis was the person who spotted Grisha outside the walls while the latter was on the way to Paradise. As Grisha feigned amnesia, Keith helped him learn of life inside the walls. While Grisha was impressed with the life humans led despite their limited resources, Keith reminded him how it was not something to feel great about due to humans not being able to access the world outside. This led to the revelation that such beliefs had led to Keith Shardis joining the Survey Corps. This conversation was overheard by Carla Jer, who was a barmaid that Keith fancied. She chastised him for trying to influence people into joining the Corps, but Grisha responded saying that he didn't have what it took to be special to join such a line of work. After that day, Keith began to think of himself as someone special and developed a pompous attitude. Following an expedition, the previous commander was eaten by a Titan, which led to Keith being appointed as the commander of the Survey Corps. In his position, he was unwilling to consider plans made by anyone else. He even rejected Wiwin Smith's long-range scouting formation. In his supervision and command, the Survey Corps never achieved much. He was unhappy about Grisha and Carla getting married and having a son. After returning from one of his unfortunate expeditions, he had an outburst seeing Carla with a baby Erin and called her ordinary. Following the incident where he had to offer the severed arm of one of his soldiers to the man's mother, he resigned from his position so as not to live with his failures and become an instructor in the Survey Corps, passing his baton to Wiwin Smith. As an instructor, he had a domineering presence and forced the recruits into submission, which disciplined them. After the final battle of heaven and earth took off, he sacrificed himself in a battle against the Jagerists by blasting a train with reinforcements for the Jagerists while he was on the train himself. Flock Forster. He was a new recruit in the Survey Corps during the return to Shiganshina arc. He never thought much of himself but had an arrogant attitude. After the suicide charge led by Wiwin Smith, Flock was the only survivor. He found Wiwin Smith on the verge of death and was about to kill him as he hated Wiwin's act of sacrificing everyone. However, on realizing that it was a diversion that would allow Levi to slay the Beast Titan, he realized that Wiwin was the devil who could abandon his humanity to achieve something greater. This led to Flock thinking that he survived to help the devil himself, and brought the body of a dying Wiwin to Levi to resurrect him with the Titan serum. After Armin was resurrected instead, Flock expressed his disappointment to the 104th Cadets, saying that they needed someone like Wiwin in his place. As the truth of the outside world grew popular, he eventually formed the Jagerists faction, supporting Erin's plans to cause the rumbling, and developed a nationalist attitude to support the new devil in his life, in this case, Erin. He was the centerpiece of the Jagerists, who carried out terrorist attacks such as the assassination of Darius Zachary, ordering new recruits to beat up Keith Shardis, and attempted murder of Kiyomi Azumabito, who was a diplomatic ally of Paradise and was working with the Survey Corps. He fought against the Alliance, trying to prevent them from getting to Erin. Ultimately, he was killed by Mikasa Aiman. Kenny Akiman. One of the three prominent Akimans in the show, Kenny found his pride and drive in his ability to carry out acts of violence. He was freakishly powerful due to having awakened his Akiman instincts, and was part of the generation who knew of the persecution of the clan but was oblivious to the reasons behind said persecution. He used that as his leverage to kill the members of the military police, pretending to do it for his fallen clan while he only did it to show off his strength. This earned him the name Kenny the Ripper, and he became an urban legend. He eventually found out about the Reice being the true royal family and went after URI, but was defeated as the latter possessed the founding titan. While he thought he was going to be killed, since his biggest asset of violence had failed him, URI bowed down and apologized to him for the persecution of the Akimans. Seeing a man as powerful as URI bow to him changed his mindset, and he went on to become the acting king's right-hand man. After he found out that Kuchel was dead, he raised his nephew Levi and abandoned him after teaching him the necessary skills to survive in the underground city. Kenny's new dream shifted to acquiring the power of the founding titan himself, as he wanted to see how strong he could get. He didn't know that being an Akiman, he wouldn't be able to turn into a titan. For this, he helped Rod Reice in the abduction of Erin and Historia, and was able to steal a vial of titan serum for himself. However, Rod Reice's unfortunate transformation into a pure titan and the collateral damage from it, alongside a brutal attack he'd interrupted from Levi during a battle between the Survey Corps and Kenny's interior police squad, led to Kenny nearing death. Before he could use the vial for himself, he gave it to Levi and told him that he was Kuchel's brother. Wiwin Smith. The most highly respected commander of the Survey Corps, Wiwin Smith was a strategic genius whose plans had increased the survival chances of the Corps against the Titans. His father was a teacher, and from him he learned about humans possibly existing beyond the walls, which confirmed the hunch he had. However, he didn't understand why his father had to keep this information a secret, and went around talking about it. This led to his father being killed by the military police, which strengthened Wiwin's desires to know the truth of the world. After learning about Erin being a Titan shifter, and the key Grisha left with him holding the information he so desperately desired, Wiwin moved against the wishes of the military police to hold complete autonomy over Erin. He was willing to sacrifice soldier after soldier, comrade after comrade, to reach his dream, and throughout everything, pretended to do so for the sake of humanity's advancement. He was eventually incarcerated by the military, but with help from Pixis and the garrison, successfully staged a coup d'etat and put Historia Reice on the throne. During the battle to reclaim Walmeria, he came up with the devious plan of the suicide charge to create an opening for Levi to kill Zeke, as the Survey Corps had to be cornered. He initially held them off from mentioning the plan as he wanted to survive in order to go to the basement. However, after Levi asked him to give up on his dreams and die so that he could kill the beast, Wiwin led the suicide charge and almost died in the process. When Flock brought his dying body, Levi chose to save Wiwin over Armin due to how much humanity needed him. Wiwin suddenly raised his hand in his state and murmured the question of whether humans could exist beyond the walls, which he'd asked his father in class. This led to Levi realizing that Wiwin's dreams had almost come to an end, while Armin had more hope about what to look forward to. In the end, Levi chose to save Armin and free Wiwin from the hell of life. Grisha Jager. Grisha was an Eldian born in Marley's, Liberia, whose life changed the day he took his sister outside the internment zone without a permit because she wanted to see an aeroplane. Fay was killed by the military, and Grisha's father acted like a spineless sheep in front of the police, claiming that he should have taught his son better. This birthed an immense hatred towards Marley and his father within Grisha. He eventually became a doctor, treating one of his Eldian patients, namely Grice. He learned that Fay had been fed to the dogs, and that he could join the organization of the Restorationists, who had dedicated themselves to restoring the glorious Eldir by defeating Marley. Grisha joined the group and eventually met Rina Fritz, who was the last descendant of the Eldian royal family outside the walls. As the two got married, Grisha's son Zeke became his tool due to his royal blood. He desperately pushed Zeke to become a warrior so that he could act as a spy within the military and infiltrate Paradise to acquire the founding titan and destroy Marley. However, the pressure put on Zeke and Grisha's awful treatment eventually led to Zeke ratting out on his parents. The Restorationists were taken to the border of Paradise and turned to pure titans. However, Grisha was saved in the end by the Eldian spy, or the owl in the army, Erin Jger, who passed down the power of the attack titan to him. Following this, Grisha reached the walls and restarted life as a doctor. He eventually got married, had Erin, and got acquainted with the Akiman family. On the day Wall Maria fell, he killed the Reice family in the underground chapel and took the founding titan by eating Freda Reice. He was initially averse to killing people and children due to his being a doctor. However, Erin from the future appeared in his memories to manipulate him into doing so and showed him the realities where not doing so and not causing the rumbling led to Paradise getting destroyed. With possession of both the attack and founding titan, he turned Erin into a pure titan and made his son eat himself after giving him the key to the basement. Before his death, he saw Zeke, who was traveling across the memories with Erin, and apologized to his first son for treating him horribly. Fay Jager. The sister of Grisha Jager and the aunt of Erin and Zeke, Fay had dreams that Eldians and Marley could never realize. She wanted to get rich someday and ride an aeroplane, which she expressed to her brother after seeing one in the sky. As it left their field of vision, Grisha took her outside the internment zone and to the spot where it had landed. However, the siblings were spotted by two Marleyan officers who decided to punish them. To save Fay, Grisha offered to take her share of the punishment as well, while one of the officers offered to take her home instead. However, in Grisha's absence, Fay was fed to the police dogs. They reported her death to the Jager family, claiming they didn't know how she died and that she'd been dropped at Liberia. Grisha knew it was a lie. Carla Jer. Unlike the other members of the Jager family, Carla Jer never knew of the truth of the Titans and life beyond the walls of Paradise. She met Grisha at the bar he was visiting with Keith Shardis, and was acquainted with Keith at that point. After an epidemic broke out, Carla's family was severely affected by it, which called for Grisha's interference since he was a doctor. Using his medicinal knowledge from outside the walls, Grisha was able to save people from the epidemic, including Carla's family. The two of them grew close during that time and ended up getting married. At some point, Carla gave birth to Erin. She was present within the crowd after the Survey Corps was returning from one of their expeditions and asked Keith if he was planning to be part of it forever. Due to Carla not having returned his affections, Keith lashed out at her, calling her a whore and an ordinary person with an ordinary kid. To this, Carla replied that Erin was special because he was born into this world. She was later killed by Rina Fritz's Smiling Titan after the Colossal Titan broke into Wall Maria, fueling Erin's desire for revenge against the Titans. Rina Fritz. As the remaining member of the Eldian royal family in Mali, Rina Fritz joined the Restorationists with information other Eldians never knew of. She revealed that the power of the founding titan was key to controlling the other titans, but it was also passed down within the royal family in the walls. This turned out to be revolutionary, as it gave the Restorationists a new course of action because they believed they could steal those powers and make their dreams come true. She fell in love with Grisha due to their shared and extreme ideals and gave birth to Zeke. While she was hard on Zeke as well, she was never as aggressive as Grisha. Yet, she was a neglectful mother to her only son, much like her husband. After Zeke got his parents captured, Rina was taken to the border of Paradise and turned into the Smiling Titan. She reappeared when Wall Maria fell and was about to kill Bertal. However, an Erin who was traveling to his past memory saw the moment and realized that it wasn't time for Bertal to die yet and redirected the Titan to his own house, which led to Rina's Titan killing Carla. She appeared once again toward the end of Season 2, where she killed Hannis in front of a helpless Erin and Mikasa. At that point, Erin came into physical contact with Rina's Titan, giving him temporary access to the powers of the Coordinate. This allowed him to control the Titans for a moment, and he redirected the nearby pure Titans towards Rina. Naturally, Rina was overwhelmed by the other Titans and ended up dying. Erin Jger. Born to an Eldian father who was part of the Eldian Revolutionary Army back in the day, Kruger watched his father get burnt to death by Marley's public security while he hid in a closet. This traumatized him and led him to the path of becoming a revolutionary himself. He faked racial blood tests with help from a doctor and posed as a Marleyan in the Marleyan army while working as a spy for the Eldian restorationists, feeding them information. He also acquired the Attack Titan, which had never fallen in the hands of Marley and always marched towards freedom due to Erin's will. To maintain his cover, Kruger often tortured Eldians who were rebelling and even helped kill them. However, when Grisha was about to die, he saved Grisha and showed how to turn into a Titan and use its abilities. He then told Grisha about the 13-year curse and how Kruger was about to die. So, Grisha had to inherit the Titan and work in his stead. He asked Grisha to start a life within the walls, get married and have a family if he ever wanted to save Mikasa and Armin. When Grisha asked who the two of them were, Kruger honestly claimed that he didn't know and he was unaware of whose memories they were. This is because he was not aware of the Attack Titan being able to send future memories to the past. Zeke Jager. Due to being born as an Eldian with royal blood, that too to a couple within the Restorationist organization, Zeke was forced by his parents to become a warrior and inherit a Titan shifter to infiltrate Paradise and reacquire the founding Titan. His lagging behind his peers during training made matters worse, and he grew even farther apart from his parents. At some point, he met Tom Cassava, with whom Zeke would play catch. After the Marleyan police came close to finding out the hideous of the Restorationists, Zeke confided his issues in Cassava. To save Zeke, Cassava told him that they could turn his parents in and save himself and his grandparents in the process. Otherwise, the five of them would be turned into Titans and sent to Paradise. Despite betraying Grisha and Dina, Zeke continued to harbor sympathy for the Eldians as a whole, both in and out of Paradise. He learned from Tom Cassava that the Founder's powers could not only alter the memories of the subjects of Ymir, but also their anatomies. This led to Zeke wanting to use these powers to make them sterile, so that the Eldians who were alive could live their lives in peace, while the non-Eldians didn't have to worry about the race and cause a genocide against them as they die out. He went on to inherit the Beast Titan from Cassava and kept his royal lineage a secret from the military. He eventually became the war chief, as he could not only take down several opponents by himself with his pitching, but also control an army of pure Titans. He betrayed the Marleyan military post-time skip after meeting Erin during his time in Mali. He'd convinced Erin to go with his plan of euthanizing Eldians since he would need Erin to gain access to the paths with Zeke's help, but then called the shots because he wouldn't be tied down by the will of Carl Fritz, unlike Zeke would. Unfortunately, Zeke incurred Levi's wrath, which had been hard to escape, but he still managed to reach Erin during the War for Paradise arc. As the two brothers came into contact, Zeke tried to show Erin how horrible Grisha was, only to learn that neither was Erin willing to move according to Zeke's plan, but also he grew up being loved by Grisha. After witnessing Erin manipulate Grisha into killing the Reice, Zeke was spotted by Grisha, and he was told that only Erin would get his way. During the final battle of Heaven and Earth, Zeke was killed by Levi. Tom Cassava. Cassava was a father figure to Zeke as the two bonded over playing catch during Zeke's time as a warrior trainee. Meanwhile, Cassava was the Beast Titan back then and also worked as a researcher in Titan science. His research led to him learning that Carl Fritz's vow chained the members of the royal family from using the powers of the Founder properly, and that it could be bypassed if a Titan shifter of royal blood came into contact with a Titan shifter who didn't have royal blood. During a conversation with Zeke, he explained this to his successor, who wanted to sterilize the Eldian population. He even revealed that he had a wife and a kid who were Marleyan, but his wife killed their child and herself after she found out about Cassava being Eldian. This made Zeke's heart hurt for him even more, and eventually, Cassava passed down his Titan to him. To commemorate his life, Zeke kept Tom Cassava's glasses as a memento. Rod Reice. A member of the royal family within the walls, Rod Reice grew up with hopes of one of his family members using the power of the founding Titan to wipe out the pure Titans. He didn't know of Carl Fritz's vow and often pestered his father to do his bidding, but his actions led to him getting incarcerated temporarily by his own family. Later, Uri became the founding Titan, and while Rod saw him as a godlike figure, he wished for Uri to kill the Titans outside. Uri continued to follow in their father's footsteps. The same happened with Freda. As the personalities of every wielder and desire to free the world got suppressed by Carl Fritz's will, due to him having made a deal with the founder, Ymir. Because no one understood him, Rod found solace in his servant Alma and went on to have an illegitimate child with her, the child being Historia. After Wall Maria fell, the Reice family was killed and Rod managed to escape. Because the nobles were immune to the powers of the Coordinate, they wished to get rid of Rod's illegitimate daughter, which led to him striking a deal with Kenny and sending Historia to the Survey Corps as Crystal Lens. In Season 3, however, he tried to reunite with Historia and wished to feed Erin to her since he had the founding Titan. He wanted her to do his bidding, which he'd failed to make Uri and Freda do. However, after Historia broke the vial of Titan serum and Rod Reis's back, he licked the liquid off of the floor and transformed into a 120-meter tall pure Titan. He was ultimately defeated by the Survey Corps, with Historia slicing off the nape. URI Rees, the brother of Rod Reis and the wielder of the founding Titan prior to Erin, Grisha and Freda, URI originally was in tandem with Rod when it came to wiping off the Titans. After acquiring it, however, he fell victim to Carla Fritz's will and adopted his peaceful mindset, which led to Kenny becoming his loyal dog at some point. He even mentioned how their peace would come to an end. After his 13-year-old tenure came to an end, he was eaten by Freda Reice. Freda Reice, originally possessing a headstrong and kind personality, Freda fell to Carla Fritz's vow of peace after becoming the founding Titan. While she couldn't utilize the true extent of her Titan's powers, she could manipulate memories. With knowledge of her father having Historia as an illegitimate child, Freda would often visit her. She taught Historia to read and write and gave her love. However, she also wiped off Historia's memories of Freda in the end, so as to protect her, making her half-sister forget about how kind Freda was. She fought Grisha Jager in the underground chapel in her Titan form, where she was overwhelmed and killed. Historia Reis, Krista Lenz. Historia grew up on a farm and received no love or attention from her mother. To imitate her, she started reading books and learned of the love shared between parent and child. At some point, she tried to hug her mother but was shoved far away. While her nose bled after her mother said that she wished she was never born, Historia felt happiness because it was the first time her mother had said anything to her. After Alma was killed, Rod sent her to one day join the Survey Corps as Krista Lenz. She became part of the 104th Cadet Corps and met the girl Ymir, who already knew of Historia living a false life as she'd overheard a conversation in the church. The two grew to become close, especially due to Ymir being in love with her, and with the both of them having lived false lives. As Krista, Historia pretended to be the kind girl from the book she used to read, but Ymir knew that was not her truth. After watching Ymir turn into a Titan, Krista revealed her true name, Historia. She eventually became the queen within the walls when the false Fritz family was removed and took a more political position instead of operating as a soldier. She was also the one who gave out the order of revealing the truth of the outside world to the common people of Paradise. Sometime after the time skip, Historia got pregnant with the child of a boy from her childhood farm who used to like her. This was because the officials were hoping for her to inherit a Titan as a member of the royal family. But Erin didn't wish for any of his friends from the 104th Corps to get sacrificed. After he told her about the plan to cause the rumbling, she decided to get pregnant with a child so that she wouldn't be used before the rumbling began. However, she disagreed heavily with Erin's actions and lived a life based on Ymir's ideals of not pretending to be someone else. Ymir. She was born almost 70 years before the rest of the main cast. She was a poor Eldian in Mali and at some point asked to pose as a goddess to the Eldian revolutionaries. This led to her being named after Ymir Fritz. This new life gave her a bed to sleep on and a life where she didn't have to worry about food. However, the movement was busted and she was turned into a Titan at the border of Paradise. Ymir spent around 60 years roaming as a mindless Titan outside the walls and called the experience a hellish one. At some point, she went into a sleep-like state as she got buried underground and stopped receiving sunlight. When the warriors from the Paradise Island operation were camping nearby, she sensed their presence and ended up eating Marcel. Acquiring the Jaw Titan allowed her to turn back into a human, and she ended up starting a life within the walls. Because she'd gotten another shot at living, she decided to live it being true to herself. While hunting for food in a church, she overheard the pastors talk about Krista Lenz, who had been sent to the Survey Corps with her false name. This led to Ymir joining the Corps and meeting Krista. She ended up falling in love with her and wanted nothing more than to protect her. After showing off her Titan powers to protect Krista, she learned of her true name being Historia, while Rina and Bertal wanted to take her back to Mali since she had the Jaw Titan. Initially, Ymir planned to take Historia to Mali with her, but when Erin activated the power of the coordinate, she left Historia behind because she realized that there was a future within the walls. Ultimately, she decided to help out Rina and Bertolt and return the Titan to Mali, especially because she knew that they could not go back empty-handed. Marcel Galliard. He was part of the Warrior program alongside Rina, Annie, and Bertal. He was also older than them and acted as their big brother. Eventually, he acquired the Jaw Titan and was made to be part of the Paradise Island operation. While they were camping outside the walls, a pure Titan, which was Ymir, sensed their presence and attacked Rina. Marcel ran in reflex and shoved Rina away from the way of harm. However, he got captured and eaten by the Titan in the process. Not only was it bad for the crew because the operation lost a warrior, but also because a Titan shifter had fallen into the hands of an Eldian unaffiliated with the Malian army. Porco Galliard. He was part of the Warrior program with Rina and co. and was supposed to inherit the armored Titan. However, his brother Marcel didn't wish for Porco to live with the 13-year curse and advocated against him, pushing the military to pick Rina for the Armored Titan instead. After Ymir returned from paradise, she went with Rina and Bertolt to be eaten and returned the Jaw Titan she'd accidentally borrowed from Marcel. This led to Porco becoming the next Jaw Titan. He fought in several battles, such as the one against the Mid-East Allied forces, the Survey Corps during the raid in Liberio, and during the War for Paradise. However, his Jaw Titan was shot several times by the Jaegerists in Paradise, and he passed his Titan down to Falco Grice. Falco Grice. He was part of the newer generation of warrior candidates training to inherit Rina's Armored Titan. Despite being capable, Rina's cousin Gabby had the edge over him. Due to Falco being in love with her, he was hell-bent on outdoing her for the Armored Titan because he didn't want her to live a short life. He met Kruger, which was Erin Jger's cover in Mali, at the hospital where the two bonded. Erin used Falco's good nature to his advantage and made him post letters on his behalf, claiming that he was sending them to his family. In reality, Erin was sending those letters to his comrades back in Paradise Island. On the day Willie Tyber held his event to declare war on Paradise, Erin, as Kruger, made Falco fetch Rina for him, claiming that the two were friends. However, Falco was mortified to learn that Erin was Rina's friend from Paradise and the very person the world had grown to be wary of, as he'd usurped the power of the founding Titan from the Fritz family. After the raid on Liberio, Falco tagged alongside Gabby as she infiltrated the Zeppelin of the Survey Corps. The two were incarcerated after Sasha's death, but managed to escape after Gabby killed the guard. As fate would have it, they found themselves being hosted by Sasha's family. Due to Sasha's implied relationship with the Malian chef Nicolo, Falco and Gabby tagged alongside them to a lunch he'd prepared for the Blouse family. Oblivious to their relationship, however, Gabby sought Nicolo out because he was a Marleyan, and the two of them needed his help. However, on revealing that Gabby had killed Sasha, a furious Nicolo almost hit her on the head with wine spiked with Zeke's spinal fluid, almost because Falco came in between to protect her and had his head smashed instead. The impact naturally broke the bottle and some of the wine slipped into Falco's mouth. During the War for Paradise, Zeke's appearance led to Falco's brother Colt Grice begging the war chief to not activate the Titans because it would turn Falco into one. Zeke paid no heed and roared anyway. Falco turned into a pure Titan, but because Porco Galliard was on the verge of death, he sacrificed himself to be eaten by Falco, who became the next inheritor of the Jaw Titan. During the final battle, locomotion had become a huge problem for the Alliance due to vessels being destroyed by the Jaegerists. Falco, having consumed Zeke's spinal fluid, allowed him to manifest Beastly's abilities, which allowed his Titan to fly. With that, he was able to transport the Alliance and provided aid in battle. After the battle ended, Falco became one of Levi's caretakers who had been crippled. Gabby Brown. Created to mirror the personality of Erin but from a different context, Gabby was aggressive, self-reliant, and vengeful. As the top candidate for the Armored Titan, she was hell-bent on proving herself and wanted to fight off the island devils to ensure the safety for her Eldian loved ones in the internment zone, as she believed that her actions would lead to the world realizing that the Eldians outside Paradise were good people. During the raid on Liberia, she saw her superiors get one-shotted by Sasha from afar while the others, especially Erin, took down several of Marley's Titan shifters. Overridden with anger over the incidents as well as the death of her friends Zafir and Udo, Gabby infiltrated the Zeppelin with a gun and killed Sasha. She then escaped incarceration in Paradise by killing a guard using a sock filled with stones and was hosted by the Blouse family. Throughout everything, she was shown to loathe the Eldians in Paradise and wanted nothing more than to kill them. However, the progression of the plot and the knowledge that either side had no choice, especially with the people of Paradise having no information of why they were being killed and losing their loved ones in the process, led to Gabby's mind gradually changing. Ultimately, she sided with the Alliance and helped them in battle from time to time, for example by shooting down Flock from destroying a ship they were going to use to travel to Erin. 3 years later, she became Levi's other caretaker alongside Falco. Peak Finger. She had joined the warrior program because her mother had died early and her father was sick. It was the best course of action for her, especially because it would help her afford treatments for her father. She didn't have a clear agenda, however, neither supporting Mali nor Paradise. Her primary focus was always on protecting her loved ones, both in and out of the military, because she knew neither of the two sides actually cared about their well-being. She appeared during the Battle of Shiganshina to provide information about the movements of the Corps, as well as ammunition. When Zeke and Rina were almost killed by Levi and his squad respectively, she procured the two of them and escaped to Mali. Later, she entered Paradise in secret, not only to save Gabby and Falco, but to make the best of her situation. She pretended to be on Erin's side, but actually brought him to the eye of the battle as the others attacked. Despite being intelligent and deducing the gravity of situations early, she was not aware of Erin knowing who would do what as a result of his powers. She later became part of the Alliance and was indispensable during the final battle. She also became one of the peace ambassadors 3 years later. Theo Maath. He was a Malian in the Malian army, one of its best artillerymen and the overseer of the warrior program. As someone who was not a subject of Ymir, he was averse to Eldians as a whole. However, working with the warrior trainees warmed him up to a few of them. He was also an ally of Willie Tyber's and operated as the general of the military during the events of Season 4, leading Mali to victory against the Mid-East Allied forces. He was crucial in the formation of the alliance, which was at first made between him and Peak on one side and Hanji and Levi on the other. In the heat of the battle, he made acquaintances with Keith Shardis as the two of them sacrificed themselves as they blew off the train with the Jaegerists. Willie Tyber, an Eldian noble whose family had been living in Mali since most of them moved to Paradise. Willie Tyber controlled Mali from the shadows. While the family held the Warhammer Titan, Willie Tyber operated as its head. Back when Carl Fritz relocated to Paradise, he conspired with the Tybers to create the story of a false hero known as Hellas, who had killed the devil who had given Ymir the power of the Titans. In Season 4, he held a procession with officials from all over the world to tell them about the true story of the peace-loving Carl Fritz and the creation of Hellas as a false figurehead. However, he stated that while Paradise would not have the chance to retaliate with the rumbling due to Carl Fritz's vow to hold the founding Titan down, things had changed after Eren acquired the Titan for himself. His lack of royal blood made him an exception to Carl Fritz's vow, making him an enemy who threatened the world. This led to Willie Tyber declaring war on Paradise, a split second after which Eren transformed from the basement and ate him. Lara Tyber. The Warhammer Titan within the Tyber family was held by Willie's sister, Lara Tyber. Although she didn't play a great role in the plot, she became crucial due to her Titan as Eren fought her. Lara crystallized herself like Hani, had to avoid being eaten, but after Eren realized that the Jaw Titan's powers could crack the shell, he used Porco Goliot's head to crush Lara Tyber and consume her, thus acquiring the abilities of the Warhammer Titan. These abilities allowed him to leave the jail the Survey Corps had kept him in after the raid on Liberio. It also helped him fight 2 to 3 Titan shifters at once after the Malian military attacked Paradise, and finally, it helped him hide himself within the mouth of his founding Titan, as the Warhammer could reside in places other than the nape. King Fritz. Not necessarily the founder of the Eldian tribe, but its ruling king 2,000 years ago, King Fritz had enslaved several people and was a ruthless tyrant who would cut off the tongues of his slaves so that they could never rebel for freedom. After one of the slaves, Ymir, freed a pig from the pig pen, he put a hit out on her. However, she returned with the power of the founding Titan, and the king used her passive mentality to his advantage. He kept her as his concubine, had 3 kids with her, and made her use her powers to conquer other tribes and build Eldia's empire, both in number as well as infrastructure. Because he'd also made Ymir's life a living hell, she died an early death after intercepting an attack made towards him. Ymir's lack of resolve to continue living caused her to give up on regenerating herself. In order to keep the power of the Titans intact, the king made the daughters he had with Ymir, Maria, Rose, and Sheena, eat the innards and spinal fluid of their mother to inherit the powers of the Titan. This led to Ymir getting stuck within the paths and allowed the Titan powers to branch out. It's not known when and how she died, but she probably died with age. Carl Fritz. King Fritz's tyrannical policies continued, and Eldia became a ginormous empire that oppressed the world with their Titan powers, especially Mali. The forced breeding with other races to create more subjects of Ymir, the one-sided wars, and finally the Great Titan War, led to him conspiring with the Tyber family to save the world from Eldia. His heart hurt for what the others went through, and he relocated to Paradise Island with most of his kin. Following his relocation, Carl Fritz used the power of the founding Titan to erect the 3 walls, Maria, Rose, and Sheena, and altered the memories of his people, making them forget about the outside world. He then made a pact with the founder, which shackled the future royal wielders of the founding Titan from being able to use its full abilities so that they could never cause the rumbling or even defend themselves if and when the outside world ever attacked. He believed that Eldia had committed unforgivable sins that could not be atoned for, so Eldians should accept their demise when the time came. He also sent out a threat to the world, stating that if they planned to attack Paradise, he would flatten the world by causing the rumbling. However, it was a blank threat meant to keep his people safe for the time being. When the Akimans and Asians went against Carl Fritz's policies to keep people in the dark, he put out a hit on them to have their people persecuted because they were immune to having their memories altered. He also made it illegal for the people of Paradise to learn about the outside world or even be curious about it. Ultimately, the Fritz family put up a false Fritz king on the throne and adopted the name Reice to work from the shadows. Ymir Fritz, the one who started it all. Several iterations have made up several stories about Ymir. The Marleyans believed that she made a deal with the devil of all Earth to create the Titan powers and torture the world. The Restorationists believed that she was a glorious goddess who helped the world. In reality, she was a little girl and a slave who was being hunted down by the ruler of her tribe and accidentally came into contact with the source of all living matter. This source helped her manifest the power of the Titans, but due to having the mindset of a slave and also being in love with the king, she could never seek freedom for herself, despite having the strength and desire to do so. Her poor state of mind led to her early death, after which her powers were passed down and the subjects of Ymir multiplied. Meanwhile, she found herself in the Path's realm, stuck in time and as the coordinate with full control over the memories and bodies of her subjects. She'd spend her hours and innumerable years creating Titan bodies from scratch and continued to serve them. After seeing Erin and Mikasa, however, she began to have a little bit of hope due to Mikasa's devotion towards Erin mirroring her devotion to the king. However, she knew that while her love was twisted as a result of abuse, Mikasa's love was born out of selflessness after Erin gave her a new life and happiness following the deaths of her parents. This led to her peering into Mikasa's mind while Erin came into contact with Zeke to free Ymir once and for all. This was also the first time a wielder of the founding Titan asked Ymir to do what she desired, instead of making her do their bidding, which led to Ymir following Erin to start the rumbling. In the end, when Mikasa sliced Erin's head off, Ymir smiled as she knew that she was finally free from being stuck in time. With that, today's video comes to an end. What do you think of the video? Did you find it helpful? If yes, then don't forget to like and comment on the video. Till then, goodbye and have a nice one.